architecture, let us understand what is an architecture actually. So according to a definition, an architecture is a product and a process of planning, designing and creating structures. So in a simple language, complex or a carefully designed structure is an architecture. So what is the actual need of architecture? Like why do we use an architecture? For everything we build, either it can be a house or a building or some other structure, we always try to design it in such a way that it will be easier for us to use its components in a more easier and more efficient way. So we can say that if your structure's architecture is good, then it will be more easier for you to use its different component. So to explain this better, let's take an example. So let's assume that there are two persons, A and B, and both have a house with a bedroom and a bathroom. But the only difference is that in A's house, the bathroom is adjacent to the bedroom, but in B's house, the bathroom is 20 steps away from the bedroom. So, with a given example, we can say that there is an architectural drawback in the B's house for which he has to pay the energy of 20 steps every time he has to go to the bathroom from its bedroom as compared to the A. So now let's understand the MVVM architecture. So in MVVM architecture, the objects are separated in three distinct groups: the model, view, and the view model. So model is where we get the data from. Then view is the activity or a fragment, and view model is where we execute the business logic. So in simple words, we can say that we get the data from the model, execute business logic on it in our view model, and then the resultant data is shown in the view. So before deep diving into MVVM architecture, it can be possible that this architecture may not be the best for you, or we can say that it may not be as efficient for your app as it is for other. So this whole thing depends on your business logic. So understand this architecture and then decide whether it is good for your app or not. But according to the Android's developer team, so in majority of the cases, this is the best architecture available. So let's deep dive into this architecture. So in our diagram, there are 5 components. First is activity or a fragment, which is our UI part, or we can say which is our UI. So our UI is linked to the view model. So view model is a class where we execute the business logic. So view model is connected to the repository. So repository is a place or is a class where from which we get the data. So our repository is connecting to two data source. First is local and another is remote. So local can be any DB or anything which is stored locally on the mobile device, and the remote is our APIs with which we fetch the data from a remote server. So to understand this architecture, let's take an example. Suppose there is a house with a hall and a kitchen, and there is a water tank above that kitchen. So let's assume there is a person sitting in the hall required some water to drink. So in our example, we get the water from our water tank to the kitchen, and then in that kitchen there is a water purifier which purifies that water, and then after that purified water we get after that the purified water is given to the person. So in this case, our water tank is a repository and the water in it is the data. So we get the data from the water tank, which is our repository, to the kitchen, which is the view model. So in that kitchen there is a water purifier which purifies that water. So that water purifier is a business logic. So we put the raw data in the business logic and get the resultant data or the required data, and then that purified water is given to the person, and then or we can say then that resultant data is given to the UI, to the user. So I think you will better understand with this example. So our repository is connected with two data sources. One is local and another is remote. So in our example, so our water tank is connected with two data sources. First is local and another is the remote. Before you start using an architecture in your app, always remember to use a single source of truth. It can be a database or a remote API. Now, with a single source of truth, I mean that there should be a single data source from which you get the data to show in your app. Now, why do we need a single source of truth? Now, if there are multiple sources of data, it can be possible that the same data is different on different screen, and from that the UI can be confusion. So we always use a single source of truth. So for that, you should designate a data source as a single source of truth in your repository. Now we know how we can use the MVVM architecture in our app. But why should we use it? Like, what are the advantages of it? So with this architecture, it is very easy to add, remove or update any functionality in the application. And since we have removed the business logic from our UI, so it is very easy to make changes in that logic. And we know that how the requirement of business team changes over time. So also the code is decoupled. So it will be very easy for us to test the app. I hope this video must have helped you in some way. So if you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions, comment them in the comment section, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you.